earners of our country. Likewise, the effects of globalization will undoubtedly affect the role that the state plays in industrial relations. Statistics from the Ministry's HIV/AIDS and HIV/AIDS Advocacy and Sustainability Center show that HIV/AIDS is rapidly infiltrating the local workforce. We now live in an interconnected world, ladies and gentlemen, where diseases do not require passports to cross borders. Tripartite partners and this committee, apart from working, advising on wages and other conditions of employment, will need to merge the efforts of all labor investors to combat the prevalence of this disease in the work environment. As a matter of priority, your input must therefore take into account the special needs of persons living with these diseases. The responsibility of employers, the role of government, and how the trade unions and employers can change their strategies for the benefit of all parties concerned. Yet, if we view the glass as being half full, these changes in the workplace may also serve to create new impetus for you to incorporate innovative practices. As committee members, your pivotal challenge is to ensure that any new labor law or amendments recognize the need for symmetry between workers' rights and the need to facilitate national productivity and competitiveness. Issues of industrial democracy, the role of trade unions, the role of labor standards, the right of the worker to strike, and rapid technological changes in the workplace have precipitated the necessity to reconstitute this committee. My dear fellow comrades, members, I salute you for your selflessness and commitment to national service. In the same breath, I would also urge you to take heed of one of the ministry's watchwords for this year and become more entrepreneurial in your vision for promoting good industrial relations in our country. In this context, I am suggesting that as committee members, you take every available opportunity to undertake innovative approaches to resolving labor and industrial relations. This must only be accomplished in a way that respects the trust of taxpayers and the government while applying your organizational acumen. Your skills must be calibrated in such a manner that transforms proposals and recommendations into enhanced levels of social dialogue and greater productivity and respect for industrial relations in this twin island nation. In the long term, the seeds of change that you have sown through your combined efforts and contributions would witness a noted departure from the present industrial climate and improved levels of productivity and stability. Incoming members to this committee, I commend you for being unwavering in your desire to serve. You have emulated the patriotic endeavors of members of 4 committees and councils who received their instruments of appointment from this ministry in January, last January, 2 months ago. They are the Steering Committee for Action Against Discrimination and Sexual Harassment in the Workplace, the Working Committee for the Establishment of a Heroes Park and Museum in Faizabad, the National Productivity Council of Trinidad and Tobago, the Standing National Labour Market Council of Trinidad and Tobago. Like you, they too were propelled by a desire to serve and willfully accepted the challenge when the opportunity was presented. Fellow citizens, we are in the midst of exciting times and extremely important advancements in reshaping industrial relations in our beloved country. Today we celebrate a milestone achievement by virtue of the appointment of the members of this committee. But its existence only provides a framework for promoting sound industrial relations. It is therefore imperative that all tripartite partners commit the attention and energy that is required to lead the reform on industrial relations and labor management. Our nation's increasingly educated labor force, marked by the entry of more women and young people into the market, regional and global competition, and ongoing ICT-based industrial reformation, means the responsibility for ensuring economic and social gains must be borne, not just by government, but by all stakeholders in labor, especially in increasingly important sectors like micro and small enterprise sector and the creative industry. But in adapting contemporary ideas to reinforcing good industrial relations, we should not entirely surrender our indigenous approach. That is why I have sought to briefly highlight the history of industrial relations in this country and repeatedly stress the necessity of social dialogue among the labor partners. The door is still open insofar as the ongoing struggle at Trinidad Cement Limited is concerned. Acting on my understanding of the provisions in the law and on the basis of advice that I have received from technocrats who have been at this game perhaps for a much longer period than I have been at it, I opened the door and invited the combating parties to come back to the table. But they must come back to the table with flexibility to ensure a settlement. And the offensive positions, as identified by the parties, those offensive positions were identified by the ministry, and the persons carrying those offensive positions to the table were invited to withdraw those offensive positions from the table. We couldn't have said much more than that. And then invited the parties to both indicate their willingness to come back to the table. We have had a written indication by one party, and the minister continues to await, even by a phone call, indication from the other party. I am prepared to sit down with the parties tonight, tomorrow morning, whenever they might require my attention in that regard. And I too, having the optimism that nothing, if people are going to come with good reason, nothing should remain unresolved. I believe that we can bring an end to that impasse, but it depends on the